Hey guys, my name is Titus Torkelson and I'm a guitar player and a songwriter, and today I'm going to show you how I created my song Sunflower here in 2025. I'll show you the gear I used and I'm going to show you a mix breakdown of how I got there. So let's get into it. So if you haven't heard the song, it's called Sunflower, and you can stream it on Spotify and other platforms right now. Go check the link down in the description. Pause the video and go take a listen. But if you have heard it, let's jump in. So we've got kind of an A section and a B section. The first section is with two nylon string acoustic guitars. And then the second half is full-on electric lead. We got drums and bass and one electric. And kind of the thought process for this song is I wanted to obviously build upon this idea of what comes to mind musically when you think about a sunflower patch. And it's actually created from the artwork of the album. So that was kind of my inspiration, and that's where I drew my musical ideas from, and I created this canvas musically from this picture. So the first part was recorded with this nylon string acoustic guitar, and I used this simply PreSonus M7 microphone. Nothing fancy, just a condenser microphone, and I recorded the mic right around this 12th to 15th fret, and I think it drifted over a little bit in the sound hole. All the other electric guitar parts were recorded with this bad boy. This is a Lincoln Brewster Signature Series guitar. It's a Fender Stratocaster with some stealth mods, and it sounds incredible, and I absolutely love it. This guitar is a beast, and it's going to stick around for a long time. And for my electric guitar, I just plugged into my Universal Audio Volt 2 interface, and then I'm going to be using some Neural DSP plugins. Okay, so I've got the mix pulled up here, and let's jump into it. So yeah, it's really simple. All the instruments that I've got two nylon string acoustic guitars here at the beginning, and then we've got drums, bass, and electric. So it starts off with these two acoustic guitar parts. Stop it there. You can hear the trail of the reverb and delay there. I'm going to pull up this first acoustic guitar. We're going to solo out here. I'm going to turn all the reverb off. And I'm going to plug off this EQ here. So you can see how it sounds just super, there's a lot of low end content, and it really lacks the clarity that I was looking for. So I just pulled up this really basic Pro Tools stock plugin. I wanted to make sure there was no latency while I was recording, because I actually had this on while I was recording just to kind of see if it was going to work. Yeah, so I've got a high pass filter, and then I'm cutting a lot in these low mids, and then up around this 2-3K mark, I'm giving a little bit of boost to try to get that sparkle back out of it. So I'll toggle in with and without that EQ. With the EQ. Without the EQ. So here it just really cleans that up. Let's just take a look at the other one. So the first guitar, I've got it panned mostly to the left here, and then this other guitar I've got it panned to the right, just to kind of give it that stereo width. And then the first guitar was done with fingerstyle picking, and then the second guitar was done with a pick. So if I just jump over to my mix window here real quick, we'll be able to see that the levels are quite different. I found that actually using with the pick was way louder. So they're actually balanced quite well, but I needed to really bring that fader back so that way it wasn't overpowering. And it was meant to be more of an accent. It wasn't doing the melody, it was just doing some fill-in chords. So let's take a look at that, listen to that second guitar. Let's listen to both of them together without any reverb or delay. And let's go ahead and what I'm doing is actually I'm sending both of those acoustic guitars to a bus here, and then what I'm actually have is a Neural DSP plugin, Rabea's signature plugin, and I have everything turned off except the reverb and delay here. So I've got dot and eighth note here, delay, and then I've also got some reverb going on, and it creates this really nice depth and gets it wet. So let's listen to, I'll start without and then I'll kick it on. So you can see when I pause it there, you can kind of see what the delay's doing in the reverb. It's just this really nice cascading effect where it kind of builds upon itself, and it is really mellow, really beautiful to start off this song. Kind of going off of that sunflower patch theme. Nice eloquence there. All right, let's keep moving here. So that is the acoustic guitars. And as we get to the end of this section here, we're gonna fade out, and then we'll hear drums, bass, and an electric guitar come in. All right, let's take a look at the drums here. So what I've got is I've got Contact running Get Good drums. This is their modern and massive library. These drums sound incredible. I've used them a couple times before, and they're really, really natural sounding. Nylon and the team did a great job. You can just hear everything just sounds really nice. Particularly the cymbals, I feel like they really stand out when it comes to kind of a plug-in software-based drums. I just really like the cymbal work here. And you can kind of pull in different grooves and stuff like that in order to get really natural sounding drum grooves. But I did build this in MIDI. So yeah, I kind of went ahead and built the groove that I needed for this kind of groove. And it seemed to work really well for me. And then my fills and stuff like that. So I've gotten broken out here. Let's go ahead and we'll solo up the drums here. I'm going to solo it up on this this fill here. So I've kind of got my drums broken out, and then I've got to go into this drum bus. Oh, it sounds so good. So I basically have just a little bit of a low pass here on the kick drum, just trying to cut out a little bit of that low end there, and then also on the snare here, I've just got a little bit of this high pass filter on there, just trying to cut out any of that unwanted low end to let the bass shine through. But I'm not doing much EQ here. So then on the snare bus, so I've got a little bit here. I've got an added brightness on the top to really get that crack going, really get that presence going. I'm ducking out a little bit here on that 500 hertz. For some reason, it just sounded a little bit muddy to me, but the cool thing is with this, I mean, my changes here are so small because the content is just so good. So I was really happy with just how it sounded, and I just needed to make those tiny little mix things to just make it fit together. Anytime you've got good content going in, you know, you don't have to do much for mixing, and that's what you want. You don't want to have to work too hard when it comes to mixing. That shows that you've got good content, you've recorded well, and you've got good sound sources. The cool thing is, I want to show you this real quick. So if I listen to the snare here, so I've actually got, instead of using like a different reverb and stuff like that from Pro Tools or something, I'm actually using the Neural DSP Plini plugin, and I've got everything turned off except this reverb, and I found that it just kind of fit this mix so perfectly. I don't know if this is either a spring or a hall or something, but it's got a nice decay on it. It's not too bright, so it doesn't like take away anything from the attack of the snare. Here's without. With. It gives it that sustain that I was looking for, and I really liked it. So yeah. And then not much other processing, just mixing with the other drums here. So another processing, just keep it nice and simple. So the last thing that I'm doing on drums is just I'm doing a little bit of master bus compression. So I've got this Ozone Elements mastering kind of plugin, which usually you wouldn't use it on like something like a drum bus, but I found that it's actually really controlled compression, and it's just kind of bringing in those top peaks. So it's pretty subtle, but let's take a quick listen here. So you can see it working there. It's just kind of really grabbing those flams and those kind of attacks that really want to jump out, and it just crushes a little bit, nice, makes it nice and tight. Okay, let's go on to bass guitar. Let's take a listen to bass. So nice and nasty. The bass guitar that I used was this Squier P bass. Works great, flat wounds on it, used a fairly hard pick, and really got the attack and the crunch and the brightness that I was looking for. So what I've got here is I'm actually using an instance of Rabea Massad's Neural DSP plugin. This is Archetype Rabea once again. We don't have anything on in terms of pedals on the front end of the amp, but we've got this medium gain amp here, and you can kind of see some of the settings. I'm really grabbing that treble there, but man, it sounds incredible. It really gives it the grit and the drive that I was looking for. Plus, it still just has all the low end. So here, I'll just pull up this RTA F6 plugin here, and you can kind of see what I mean. So you can see how the low end is really punching through. I'll kick off Archetype Rabea, and you'll see the difference. So having that drive just really brings it forward in the mids. And I find that in the mix, the bass can really just kind of disappear on you unless you've got some grit on it. And it sounds way too distorted on its own from this part, but as soon as you put it in the mix, it just fits perfectly. Let's take a listen to it in the mix. That's bass guitar. All right, let's jump into, obviously my favorite part, electric guitar. Let's go. Okay, let's go ahead and solo these up, and I love this swell in. Take a listen. So I'm in love with that tone. I think it fits this track so perfectly. That part was really fun to play because I was doing the picking part on acoustic, and then I basically transferred it to electric. So I really broke it out, stretched out those arpeggios and made them single notes, and it was just the ergonomics were super fun to try and learn to play. So the playing is super fun. Let's dive into the nerdy tone stuff. So what I've got is I have my guitar going into my volt interface, and then I've got 2 amps, right? I've got amp on the left and amp on the right. So let's take a look at that. So on the left here, I've got a Neural DSP plugin here. I've got, once again, Rabea Massad's Archetype. And you can see we've got a compressor on here, and then we've got his Paragon Overdrive going into the front of his medium drive amp, kind of based on that Victory Kraken type circuitry. So this amp sounds incredible. I love it, and it's a really nice, tight, modern amp sound. I'm just tweaking the things a little bit here, and then jump over to the cab real quick if you want to see that. I think I've just used the stock 57 and the R21. All that settings has basically stayed the same. Doing a little bit of EQ here. I think that might even came with one of the presets. And then we're not doing any wet effects here, right? We're actually sending these 2 amps to a bus, and then we're doing wet effects, which is kind of like putting your effects in the effects return. Similar concept, but a little bit different. Let's hear that soloed out, and this is going to be on the left side. So if you're listening to headphones, it's going to be on the left side there. All right, so that's with the wet effects. I'm going to go ahead and kick those off. Pan it to the center there real quick so you can kind of hear how it sounds. So yeah, it sounds great on its own, but then when you really blend it so the amp on the right side is the Archetype Plini, and this is his high gain amp. It just sounded so great right out of the get-go that I just ran with it. So what I've found is when you have 2 amps that are kind of similar genre, so this Archetype Rabea and this Archetype Plini, you've got both of these amps. They're both high gain, they're both modern sounding, they're both tight, but they just, the harmonics and the mid-range is just slightly different to where you get this nice texture. They sit pretty similar, but to just really get that guitar sound to just sound big and massive, with only one take. I'm not doing any double track or anything like that. So I've got the Rabea on the left side, the Plini amp on the right side with stereo effects. And it just, you get this huge guitar sound with just one take, and I just absolutely love it. So let's take a closer look at the Plini amp real quick, and then we'll combine them together. One thing I want to note real quick for maybe some Strat users out there or something, but I found that sometimes coming into the front of the amp of these more higher gain stuff, I really found that just the low mids were just kind of overwhelming, and it just made it sound muddy, and I was missing that clarity. So what I've done is, similarly like you would maybe taking a Boss EQ7 pedal or something and just kind of ducking those low mids. That's what I've done here in the software world. So I've taken this F6 and at 516 hertz here, I basically just cut out 5.5 dB, this low shelf, just taking that out right from the guitar into the amp. And it just clears up those low mids, and it just makes it a little bit tighter. And it really adds a nice presence to it, gives it a clarity that I was looking for, and it just blended well with Rabea's plugin. I didn't need to do that on his. So let's go ahead and listen to Plini's amp. So just a really great sound on its own. Really love it. I'll go ahead and pan it all the way to the right now. Let's go ahead and listen to both amps together, and we'll see how that sounds. So best with headphones, but you can just hear that the sound is just, it's so wide. It sounds like two different guitars, two different amps on each side of you, and it just really creates this massive sound. I absolutely love it. Let's go ahead and throw in the wet effects. So what I'm doing is I'm taking both of those guitars and I'm sending them to this bus here, and I have another instance of Rabea Massage plugin, but I've got everything turned off except the wet effects, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and kick those on. I've got a delay into this reverb here. We've got an eighth note on the left side, and then we've got a dotted eighth on the right side, and then we've got this this reverb going here. Sounds great. Just gives it that space and a little bit of smoothness, sets it back in the mix just a little bit. And let's go ahead and hear what that sounds like. Solo it up. That's so fun. So fun to listen back to that. Real quick, I'm just going to go over the mastering chain here real quick. So we've got ozone elements here. This is kind of taking off, getting it a little bit louder, and then we've got some multi-band compression here going on, some dynamic compression there. Then we got another layer of this to get a little bit more compressed. We're checking how loud we are, and then just to kind of a final, just to kind of see where all the frequencies are landing. Not too bad. Just kind of compressing it and getting loud up to kind of industry standard. Thank you so much for joining me on this video today. I wanted to break down my song and also show that with a little bit of gear you can do a lot of music. And I don't know if you're like me, sometimes I feel intimidated by those big studios that have all those pieces of gear, and you feel like, man, like if I only had that access to those tools, I could really create some music. And I want to tell you that that's just not true. You can get out and you can create awesome music right now today with some simple pieces of gear and a lot of passion and a lot of creativity. And I'm excited to continue to this, and I hope you do too. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Titus Torkelson, and we'll see you on the next one.